I don't want you to watch my movie on DVD. I don't want you to wait for it to be on TV. I want you to watch it on the screen here, because it's made. My films are made to be seen collectively, communally.
Right. Yeah.
Because everybody feeds off everybody else's emotion in the theater, and I think it has a much stronger impact on the viewer than just sitting at home, while you're doing 3 other things, and it's on TV, and you pause it, and this and that, and whatever. And it's just, it doesn't have the same impact. But the sad dichotomy of this here is that, if anybody in here makes documentaries knows this, the money to make documentaries these days is from television networks. These good networks, from whether it's Sundance and IFC, or whether it's Discovery, or History, or PBS.
Yeah.
That's where HBO, definitely Sheila. That's where you have to go for your money. So you're already thinking it's TV, and you're already thinking that this is a singular, alone experience when you're viewing it.
Yeah.
And I wish there was some kind of happy medium there, but I just don't make it for TV, and I only think of it. That's what majority of my films get an R rating, so that automatically makes it difficult to show.
But this, I think this was this the biggest money? In terms of box office, this film did Columbine over $20 million, which I think was really unheard of.
Yeah, well, Roger Mead set the record at around $7 million.
Yeah.
And then this did $21 million.
Yeah.
So it broke the record and tripled it.
Yeah.
And then Fahrenheit, 2 years later, made $120 million in the box office, and what's that, 6 times the Bowling for Columbine number.
Yeah.
So, so it certainly showed people that the American public actually does like nonfiction, and they will go to a documentary in a movie theater if it's a movie.
Yeah.
And it's like when they ask me to come, they don't ask me to teach much in schools, but when I do go there, I say that rule 1 in Fight Club, rule 1 in documentary filmmaking is don't make a documentary, make a movie.
Yeah.
If you make a movie, your chances of success are already 10 times greater than if you're starting out making a documentary. Americans love nonfiction. That's why they watch on TV, the top 20 shows, a good third of them every week will be nonfiction shows. The smart ones, like 60 Minutes, and the dumb ones, like Dancing with the Stars. But they'll all, whatever, they like nonfiction. Pick up the book review tomorrow in the New York Times, there'll be 4 times as many reviews of nonfiction books than fiction books.
Yeah.
We like nonfiction. And why in film, in this one art form, it's treated like this bastard, genre of, nobody wants to go see a documentary. Well, no, that's not actually true. People love nonfiction. It's up to us to make nonfiction films as movies that they will pay $10 and eat popcorn to.
Yeah.
But too many documentary filmmakers are already way up in the highfalutin eat popcorn. It's like, that's from Monsanto, that corn. So I don't know. I'm babbling on. I don't know.
Well,
that's how I feel about it.
Well, it's amazing. I'd forgotten if Fahrenheit did that well. It makes you think how bad a candidate John Kerry must have been. If he did.
Yeah, I know. Well, or that if we had just had the movie was out 5 or 6 months earlier. That it just didn't. It really. Once the movie did then go on DVD and went to even tens of millions of more people, it was one of those pieces that helped.
Yeah.
In Bush's first year, he was already his popularity fell below 50%, and he was never recovered from. And I think that different people did different things, and they weren't afraid to do it.
Yeah.
So why aren't we going to go see Charles Heston? He said, no, I don't want him in the film. Oh no, we gotta go. Well, let's just go see where he lives. I said, well, we gotta get to the airport, and then we passed this thing called Star Maps. Some guy out on the curb.
No.
Oh, there's a star map. Pull over. So they pull over and they get a star map, and they find Heston's house. Come on, it's right. Just go up Coldwater Canyon. Oh man, okay. And then the line producer says, we have time. We have time. I said, oh Jesus, okay. So we're down there on Santa Monica Boulevard. And it is only like a 2-minute drive up to his place. And but I was sure it wasn't his place because these star maps are fake. And So we get up there, and then nobody gets bothers, even the cameraman doesn't get out of the car, but he does turn the camera on for some reason, and he's shooting through the dirty windshield. And I just ring the doorbell, there's a camera on me, and there's a big gate. And out of this little box comes the voice of Moses. Yes. And it's like Charles Manson. I'm like, oh my God. Mr. Hanson, oh, I'm so sorry, because I don't generally like to go to people's personal homes. If you watch my work, it's very, very rare that I will do. I did it on TV once. One time I remember we went to tobacco executives' homes, and I took people who were dying of throat cancer and had voice boxes, and it was Christmas time, so we went and did Christmas carols outside the homes of tobacco executives, not telling people where they live, but, but we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry. And it was so sick and dark, but I thought, appropriate. But generally, so I don't like doing that, and I apologized to him, and he said, what are you doing? I said, we're making a movie about guns and everything, and, and I just wondered if we could talk to you. Yes, let me get my calendar. And he comes back, he goes, I'm free tomorrow morning at 8:30. And I'm like, oh my God, really? I can't say how much I appreciate this. I'm a lifetime member of the NRA. And in the film I explain how I was at Boy Scouts and I was at Marksman and very good shot and all that. And I said, I said, we're both from Michigan. He goes, yes, I know that. And so we'll be back tomorrow morning. But I figured we went back and checked into the hotel, and I figured, there's no way this is going to happen in the morning because he's going to call the NRA and they're going to say, do not let that guy in there with a camera.
Yeah.
And sure enough, we show up at 8:30 the next morning, ding dong, gates open, and he invites me in, and we go to his pool house, his little pool house by the pool, and we sit down for this interview. And I wanted to be very respectful of him. I think you'll see that. I wasn't yelling at him, or I wasn't doing something to make fun of him, or wink to the camera, or anything like that. I just treated him, I just wanted him to talk. And he had just had hip replacement surgery. So he was walking a little slow. People say, well, he had Alzheimer's, but we filmed that a year and a half, two, before he had Alzheimer's. But he had just had hip replacement surgery, so he's moving a little slow.
Okay.
And this is probably the real reason he wanted to get up and go, was I'd asked him the question, why us, not the Canadians?
Yeah.
And I don't remember the exact quote right now, but he said something to the effect that they don't have the same ethnic makeup that we do. And then he said something about those wise old white men that founded our country and what they were doing. And he turned it into this racial thing. And then he heard himself say that, and he wanted to get out of there. And I asked him about why he came to Flint.
Yeah, that's the interesting tension in the scene, because you really sort of get to him in a way. I mean, he's thoughtful enough to sort of, listen to himself, but no, again, he's already sort of fixed in his ways, but you got to him in a way. So it's a powerful scene. Did you hear from him? Was there any response after the film came out, or?
The NRA excommunicated me.
Oh.
Which was okay with me.
Yeah.
I did. I think they think they're bigger than everything.
Yeah.
They're not afraid of anything.
Yeah.
They get their way. Why would they be afraid?
Right.
They get everything they want.
Yeah.
They get Democrats.
Yeah.
Turn into, scaredy cats.
Yeah. Well, we saw what happened after Sandy Hook, which was nothing.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Right. Even though 90% of the American public wanted just a background check.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the gun show loophole, right?
Yeah.
They can't even do that. So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It seems in a way, almost of all of the, some of the big issues that you dealt with, like that's the one where there's been the least change. There has been a major change in terms of gay rights.
Well, the main change since Falling for Columbine is that these shootings have quadrupled.
Yeah. Okay, well, Fahrenheit, we started to talk a bit about Fahrenheit, and then one of the things we have been talking about is like how you work as a filmmaker, the techniques that you use. So one of the most famous scenes in Fahrenheit is is George Bush and reading my pet goat while the attack is happening. And you know, just before we see the clip, I mean, how did you decide? Because you use certain techniques that a fiction filmmaker might make, but you're getting it at, you know, it's very important information that comes across there. But how did you decide, like, how you were going to use this, like, really, you know, disturbing and incredible piece of footage?
I didn't understand why they never showed on the news what Bush was doing there or what happened. We've seen the famous where Andy Card whispers in his ear, the country's under attack. And then he's a little stunned, and then it cuts out. We've never really seen much more than that. And we went to the networks to try and get the footage, and we couldn't get it. Like, did anybody keep their camera on the whole time? It must have been somebody. But either they did or they didn't.
It was a photo op, I mean, right?
Yeah, it was a photo op. So there was no footage. We were like, what are we gonna do here? How are we gonna, there must, and then somebody said, you know what, he's at an elementary school. The PTA, the parents, the president's coming to your school, somebody's not gonna bring a home video camera and tape that thing? And so we called up the principal, just randomly called up the principal, like, is there any chance that any of the parents videotaped the, oh yes, you know, we have a videotape right here in our library of the whole, and then, I mean, what, the whole, no editing, it's just all. I said, wow, could we get a copy of that? Oh yeah, that'll cost $5 though for, you know. I said, oh, that's no problem. And so she shipped us the videotape. And what you see in the film is a PTA parents video of it, not your network news. Because I want to see just how long did that guy sit there after he's just been told the country is under attack. The country is under attack, and he picks the book back up and starts reading along. And it's like, and then he starts to have this look in his eyes where, like he's been forgotten. And I thought in later years, after reading his book and Cheney's book and all that, of that day, because Cheney became in charge right away. They practically carried Cheney down to the bunker in the White House. And Cheney was right on, making all the calls. And it's just a theory, but I think about 10 or 15 minutes into it, somebody said, where's the president? Where, I don't know, what, he's still sitting in that classroom? Get him out of there! It's like everybody forgot because he's irrelevant. He had been irrelevant. He wasn't really running the country, Cheney was. And but he has to look at the lost boy in the class there, like, will somebody come and tell me what my next line is or what I'm gonna do, or whatever. It was just I just thought it was so and we did a cut of this film where I think it goes on, I can't remember now. Geez, I'm sorry, I don't want to say the wrong time, but it goes on for 7, 9, 10 minutes at least, I think. And we did a cut of the film where I put like the whole 7 or 8 or 9 minutes, we didn't even touch it. And it was so excruciating to watch. And they're in there A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This was like, oh my God, this is just the public, nobody's gonna handle this in the theater. They're just gonna be screaming at the screen. So I thought of a way to cut it in a way that would show the passage of time. And one of my high school buddies who does the music composing for my films, and came up with an idea of that he didn't need much instrumentation or many notes for this. I bring up the obvious question of 15 of the 19 hijackers were from Saudi Arabia. Believe me, if 15 of the 19 were from Cuba, Cuba would be on the map. But somehow it's just like, oh, Saudi Arabia. And we talk, I show how all the Bin Ladens and all these Saudis got to fly the day after 9/11 when nobody else could fly. And they want to get them all out of the country. And again, I asked the question, geez, it's not usually our MO after a big tragedy like that. You're worried about the family members of the potential killer. I mean, nobody ran and got Lee Harvey Oswald's family in protected custody and got them someplace safe or whatever. So why? And I showed the close relationship between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Bush family over the years, and the Bin Laden family, the Bush family over the years of the oil business. And I don't have an answer to this question. I just think it's a worthwhile question to ask, and I don't understand why more reporters didn't ask it. Some did. Jay Mayer in the New Yorker asked it. Dana Priest in the Washington Post asked it. There are very few people that bothered. And I think it's a legitimate question to ask, and one that the Mr. Bush should have answered.
Yeah. You know, in terms of the public, I mean, the major network news shows are not asking those questions. I mean, so, you know, we talked about the audience in your film. I mean, for many of the public, like these questions were being asked by you, or else they wouldn't have occurred to a lot of the public to ask these questions.
Well, that's a sad statement.
Yeah.
I mean, if we have to rely on somebody that has a high school education to think of these questions.
Yeah.
I mean, these people all went to Ivy League schools.
Yeah.
They have these big, huge media operations. They have all these things at their disposal, and they can't do their job.
Yeah.
Well, of course, I'm being a little facetious when I'm saying this,
Right.
because their job is to do what the corporate masters want them to do.
Yeah.
And I know, having had a couple of network TV shows, how that works. And I know. So I'm not really surprised that they don't ask these questions, but these things happen, and I wonder, why isn't anybody asking this? I don't understand.
So, you know, with Sicko, there's an issue that doesn't, like, apparently seem like the sexiest of issues, you know, like the idea of, I'm going to make a feature film about the problems with our healthcare coverage, you know, which is obviously still a major issue. You said there's been some improvement because of Obamacare, but at the time, for you to decide this was to be your next feature film, I mean, I don't know, what was the thought process there, you know, because it's, how do you think we can get people to care about it and why do you want to do it?
Yeah, and Sicko actually did better than Bowling for Columbine. I know exactly what you're saying, because we have the same discussion. How are we gonna pull this one off? And I said, well, I think one of the things will be the misdirected, because again, the public, the audience, the mainstream media is gonna assume that this movie is about the 50 million Americans who don't have health care.
Yeah.
And in the first minute of the film, I tell you that I don't really care about the 50 million who don't have health care. I mean, I care about them, but this movie is gonna be about them. Because why do I need to tell you that they should have health care? Of course, you already know that.
Yeah.
You know, this movie is about those of you in the audience who have little health insurance cards in your pocket. I want to show you just how fucking worthless that is.
Yeah.
And that your insurance company is set up to make sure that they pay as little as possible when you are hurt or injured or sick or whatever. And so we went after, essentially it's a film about, well, even something more boring, the insurance company.
Yeah.
But I thought it would be scary enough to the audience to think about, because, you know, let's just be honest. Have you ever read your health insurance policy, all 62 pages of it? No, nobody in this room has. And you only find out when you have something happen, and then they won't pay for it. And you can't believe they won't pay for it. And so I wanted to make a movie about essentially the ignorance and the naivete of the audience watching it. Supposedly smart, somewhat liberal.
Right, and also one of the ideas in your work is that there's, you know, many Americans just assume that we're living in the greatest country in the world. So the idea that other countries might have.
Well, and I thought that would be, if we went to France and showed how to do it, or went to England, that it would be, that the dark humor of it would be so gut-wrenchingly, you know, just, I mean, to sit there and watch France, not only is everything taken care of, if you need a house call in the middle of the night, that a doctor will come for, I don't know, $35, and if you have a baby, they have someone come twice a week to your house for 6 months to do your laundry and give you some time alone, and they'll take care of the kids.
So the scene that we're going to see is your trip to Cuba. So how did it occur to you that let's go down to Guantanamo Bay where they have better healthcare coverage?
Well, that World Health Organization list showed that Cuba was tied with us, or even doing one better than us in terms of healthcare. Now, how could that be? It's a third world country.
Right.
It made no sense. And then I just thought in my head, you know what? The people we're holding down there, they must be given healthcare by the Navy or Army or somebody. And I looked into it, and I said, yeah, they get the same exact care that any soldier or Navy person would get if they're in the Navy.
Yeah.
And they have free medical. It's all free. Everything's free, and they can get, you know, different CAT scans. And they get dental work done, and they get all this stuff done. And I love the irony of it. Just that the people that supposedly were involved in 9/11, many of them, of course, were not. Most of them, I think, were not. But we're still down there with no trial, being held, and then the first responders here in New York City These are not people who are members of the fire department of New York City, but a fireman from New Jersey who just got in his car and drove over, and a paramedic from a hospital came down there. She came down there. So there's a whole bunch of 9/11 first responders that are not union members that have health insurance, and the city would not help them with all their illnesses after 9/11. And the irony of that was just too obvious, and so I thought, why don't we take the 9/11 first responders down to the place where the so-called 9/11 terrorists are, and see if they can get the same health care that the terrorists are getting.
Okay. So that's
A $200 hamburger costs $5 there.
Yeah. Or 5 cents. She buys something.
Was it 5 cents? Oh,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
Right.
5 cents.
5 cents, that's right. It was so crazy.
I know.
She started to cry, she couldn't believe it, because she
Yeah.
couldn't afford the inhaler here.
Yeah.
And, they all got healthy, we took them, and I told, the deal with the Cubans was, I said, now listen, this is a documentary, so I don't want any special treatment, I'm gonna go to the same clinics and the same places that Cubans go to, and I want the same exact treatment that they get. We don't, because they'll have people come from South America, they have people come there and get, they have great doctors and great facilities and stuff, and so I said, well, I don't want the tourist thing, I want the Cuban, what the Cuban person would get.
Right.
And they all got help. I mean, they were all they came back. One of them was they'd already off half of her pills, and it was just of course the movie didn't play very well in Miami, but it was and it's funny. They're like, whoa, Cuba does this good. I said, yeah, but I'm not saying that Cuba's. Well, we can say the same about us. We do this and we do that. I mean, there's every society, every country has these things, horrible things that they do. But that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm just asking the question, how can a poor country have a life expectancy now that's longer than ours? How can that be? How can that be?
Yeah.
Because it is I've never been there before. It's very, very poor.
Yeah.
There's not much there.
So you're saying Castro care is better than Obamacare?
Oh man, there's somebody here from Fox News, I can't even go there.
Okay, I said it, not you.
All right.
So let's take, we're running a little over, but we just have time for some questions over here.
You've tackled many controversial subjects. Are there subjects now that you would like to bring to light? Let people know what they really should be looking at?
Yeah, she's just asking if there are other questions that you want to tackle now. You've done so many controversial subjects, important subjects.
Yeah.
No. I'm serious.
Really?
Yeah, if you saw Capitalism, a Love Story, that film says it all as far as what I care about and what I'm concerned about. And I do not want to spend the rest of our life picking and cherry picking the next problem that we've got. When I'm just talking about the problem, I'm not talking about I'm talking about really a symptom, because the real problem is an economic system that's unfair, it's unjust, it's not democratic, and it's set up to benefit the 0.1%, and everybody else at the bottom 80% are screwed. And until that changes, until we force a change in our corporate and Wall Street structure here, we're going to continue to have the next problem and the next problem and the next problem. I could do these films forever.
Let's say in a way all your films are about that one thing.
So I didn't realize that when I started, but I realize now that this is an anthology of capitalism that began 25 years ago when I was trying to warn people about General Motors and the things that were going on then. It was just it was very difficult to get people to think about it because that just was happening in Flint and Detroit, not anyplace else. Have you been to Poughkeepsie lately? I mean, what the fuck is that? I go to places around the country. I never heard, you hear the name, but you go there and you realize, geez, this place is devastated. And we let this happen over the last 2 or 3 decades. And so the next film won't be about another specific subject, like Monsanto or whatever. Those films are being made, and I support them, and I encourage filmmakers to make really good films that people want to come and watch.
You do them the best.
Well, but I'm one of 320 million people, so there's other people that can do this too. There's nothing special about me. I'm not saying I'm not dismissing like some kind of false modesty. actually, I have a lot of good feelings about myself, but I'm just saying that I'm just a high school graduate, really, in some ways, and I somehow fell off the rails a bit because I didn't conform very well in school, and I didn't like school very much, and I was just telling my friend that my senior year in high school, I got like all D's and F's, and I just didn't care anymore. So what I'm going to, so the next film will be about something else, but it won't be about a specific thing. It'll be something to follow up with from Capitalism, a Love Story, the next level of what we need to do, and maybe what we can do. And maybe the answers are right in front of us and we don't even know it. And so I'll try to present that in a film that you can goobers do.
Okay.
Over here.
Question. After you finished your first film, you were an unknown filmmaker. How did you break that mold of just getting it seen? Because most filmmakers have a hard time just getting distribution. How did you break through?
Well, the question was how you broke through. We did, yeah.
In my first film, how did I get people to see it? I don't have an answer that doesn't sound.
Did you know anyone?
No, I didn't know anybody.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
My dad made spark plugs. No, I didn't know anybody.
Okay,
Nobody I knew anybody.
that's what was a miracle you did it.
I knew somebody knew anybody. I mean, it was literally, there was nobody to know.
That's why you were Cinderella.
It was, I finished the film, and I heard of the Telluride Film Festival, and so I thought I would submit it to them. I didn't know anybody at Telluride, I didn't know how to even get it to them, and I thought I'd submit it to Toronto. I called it the Toronto Film Festival. They said our deadline was 4 days ago. And I went, oh, geez, man, I'm just 50 miles from Canada here in Flint. Yeah, I got my grandfather was Canadian. Please let you won't regret it. You've got to. I'm just telling you, you don't want to let this go. And I don't know what it was that I said, but the guy on the phone, went, well, we've got one of our film watcher people, whatever, curators, programmers, going to be in New York. Can you get up to New York next week? I said, yes. I brought all these big spools of 16mm film. And somebody had a steam deck here in their apartment, and showed it to this woman, and she just immediately fell in love with it. At the same time, the people from Telluride watched it at DuArt, and they were scrambling to find me as quickly as possible. So, so the answer is make a film that people will want to see.
Mm-hmm.
I think the cream, in essence, in this country actually does rise to the top or somewhere near the top. If you're good at what you do, really good, if you really spend the time to be good at what you do, whether you're a singer, whether you're a songwriter, whether you're a filmmaker, or whatever, what I have found in these 25 years is that it's very rare that somebody with an incredible talent goes completely unknown, that has the Van Gogh experience. And because there's just the egalitarian nature of this country, and this is obviously one of the good things about this country, is that there are so many venues and ways. David's, he's got a museum in Queens, the American Museum of the Moving Image. You've got so many film festivals now. You've got all these different avenues to where somebody is going to see your good work, and then from there, if it is good, it will be seen by others. I hope that doesn't sound too Pollyannish, but I actually sort of believe it. So I would just say you should spend less time on trying to figure out how to work it or what the angle is, and more time on less time on that and more time on making the best damn film that you can. That's a film. That's a movie, not a speech, not a sermon, a movie. Mm-hmm. And your chances will be good if you've made a good, entertaining movie that's under 2 hours long.
Well, unfortunately, we have to stop.
But
I'm glad to end on that note of optimism and for filmmakers. And you went up to Toronto 25 years ago with Roger and me, and it's just been an amazing career. We hope you keep going in many different ways. But just thanks for just incredible body work.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having this film.